Hey, welcome to another Photoshop tutorial with PSD Box. I'm Andrei, and in this tutorial I'll show you how to make this kind of abstract artwork using Photoshop CS6. You can make it in previous versions of Photoshop. Actually, I made this in Photoshop CS4, I think, because I made it a few years ago. And on my website there's the text version, and now I decided to make this video version. And it's not a complicated tutorial, you'll see. I'll just want to show you how to how to use the dodge and burn tool, how to add colorful elements to an artwork like this, and just get this kind of final result. So I hope you will enjoy this tutorial. As I said, if you go to my website and just type on the search box the police officer, you'll find that tutorial. And the PSD file is available for premium members. So if you're a premium member, you will be able to download the tutorial. And you can see I made it in 2011. And here you'll find the links to all the stock images. So if you're watching this from YouTube, you can just come to the site and you'll find the link on the video itself. And here you have the links to all the stock images and the step-by-step tutorial with so if you need values, the exact values that I used, you can come here to the website and just take a look at the article as well. So well, let's head back to Photoshop and let's get started. Okay, I'll start by closing this. As I said, you can make this in previous versions of Photoshop. And the first thing I'll do is rename this. Okay, and the width that I used is 1920 pixels. For the height, 2400, resolution set to 300 pixels per inch. And click OK. So this is our canvas, and the first thing we need to do is set our background. It's a very simple background. I'll go down here and create a gradient fill, and I'll change the gradient to black and white. And our background is really dark, really light gray. And let's set this kind of gray, and instead of using white, we will use another gray tone like this. And I'll click OK. And I'll change the style from linear to radial. And I'll have to reverse this because I want the lighter part to be on the center. I'll probably make this one a bit darker, like so. Okay, and click OK. And I'll move it a bit higher up like that and click OK. And the next thing that I want to do is add some texture. If I zoom into 100%, you will see that it's just a simple color. And you'll also see some banding here. That's because there are very little colors in the transition. And what I will do is add some noise, and usually what I do is turn this into a smart object. But if your Photoshop version does not allow you to create smart objects, what you can do is right click and rasterize the layer and then apply the noise filter. But what I will do is turn this into a smart object. And now I will go to filter, noise, add noise. And it's important to look at the image at 100% zoom when you add noise. And this is the before and after. I don't know if you can see the difference, but it's just so that the background is not too flat. And I set this to Gaussian, monochromatic, and about 2% is okay, depending on your canvas size. But if you add 5% or something, that is not realistic. So add about 2% is okay, or 1.5, and I'll click OK. And this is my background. You can see now I have this. Since this was a smart object, now the filter that I applied has been converted into a smart filter, which I can now open and just add it. If I double click here, I can I can change the opacity of the filter, or if I click on the filter itself, I can edit the settings of it. Okay, now the next thing that I want to do is add the car because my background is ready. This is the car that I used. What I did, I used the pen tool to extract it from the background, and since I couldn't see where the wheel ended here, see that? So what I did is add some levels. I added the levels adjustment. I didn't apply the levels on the image itself, and I just increased. I used the slider and put it a bit here to the left to add a bit of light on the shadows. And the reason why I didn't add it to the image itself is because I only need this to add a bit of light so I can see where the wheel ends here and where that, because you couldn't see it because of the shadow. Then I traced the path. I already have it here. I just trace a path with the pen tool, you can see it. And let me select it. This is the path. And once you have the path, right click and choose make selection and click OK. And with the selection ready, you can click the layer mask icon, and that way you get rid of the background. And I will also delete the levels. And now what I will do is use the move tool, click on the car itself and drag it here on my canvas. And one thing, if you notice, I didn't remove anything from behind the windows here. You can do that if you want to. I will not spend time doing that because it's not really visible, but only this part here is a bit visible. But if you want to do that, you can take your time and just remove that part of the behind the windows. Okay, so let me position the car somewhere here, and I'll rotate it just a bit to the left, like so. And I opened this image for reference. I want to see how big the car is, and I have to make it just a bit smaller. I'll actually apply the layer mask because I no longer need it. And I'll convert this into a smart object. And with Control T to load the free transform, I can make it a bit smaller. Something like that. Let's see, more or less, yeah. Okay, now the next thing that we need to do, well, first let's rename this to car. And rename this to background. And get rid of the original background, we don't need it. And the next thing that I want to do is add some shadows for the car. And creating shadows for cars is really easy. Just create a new layer under the car itself. Let's name it car shadow. And using the polygonal lasso tool, you can create shadows. Let me show you how. Sometimes it's not that easy, but usually it's not too complicated. So get the polygonal lasso tool and just draw a shadow. Let's start from here. Create a shape like this. And close the selection, and now fill the selection with black. And this is our shadow, and all we need to do now is smoothen it. So I'll go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and adjust the amount of blur until I get what I want. This is too blurry, something like that, but I don't like this part here. So I'll click OK, and I'll press Control T to load the free transform, and I'll get the warp tool because I want to drag this part there and just make a few adjustments to this shadow here. I applied too much blur to it, so no, don't make it too soft either. I made it a bit too soft. Press enter to accept the change, and I'll probably decrease the opacity just a bit to about 80%. And well, it's too much. Let's leave it to 95 or 90. And now for the wheels, I need another layer. Named it car shadow 1. Well, let's name it car shadow 2. And I'll get the brush tool and I'll zoom in. I want to create some shadows under the wheel itself and change the hardness to about 30%. I'll decrease the opacity and the flow to about 50% on the brush and just paint some shadows like that. Decrease the opacity even more. I know it's not looking too nice because I will add now another blur, but this time motion blur. And I'll change the angle like so, and now another Gaussian blur, but not too much. Okay, and let me show the before and after. I just wanted to add a bit more shadow here on this side. Okay, so this is our shadow. What we need to do now is make adjustments to the car because it's too dark, and we will use clipping mask layers for that, and also some layer styles. So let's start with the layer styles. What I want to do is add a bit of light on the top part of the car, so I will use inner shadow. I'll set the angle to about 60 degrees. I'll change the blend mode to linear dodge add. And let's find a color that a color that's similar to the color of the car, but not as saturated and not too bright. And let's set the distance to, let's see, about 25, and the size to about 30, just to smoothen it. And you can see the light there on top. Maybe it's too bright, so let me darken the color a bit. Okay, something like that. And maybe play with the opacity if it's too strong for your taste. And let's click OK. That's we're done with the styles for the car. Let's add our first adjustment, which is a hue saturation adjustment. And I'll right click and choose create clipping mask because I want to only affect the car. And in this case I will only use the hue saturation for the red channel, so I'll select reds. You can also change the color if you want to see that. You can actually, let's create a crazy color like this. On the original I didn't change the color, and I'll use the lightness slider. Well, actually, if you touch the slider of the lightness, you will change the aspect of the color itself. You can even make it dark, you can see, without affecting the other colors. I already made a tutorial, a detailed tutorial about selective colors, and I explained what you can do with this and how to use how to use this adjustment actually, and you can adjust this selection to affect the colors that you want. Let's leave the colors to this. Well, you can even make it green, but let's leave it like that. And now let's make it brighter. Let's add a levels adjustment. Well, let's leave the curves and let's clip it again. I did that with the Alt key. If you press and hold the Alt key, put the mouse between the two layers and you can clip the adjustment. And let's raise this curve a bit to add a bit more light. Okay, let's see the before and after. Now you can see that it looks a lot brighter. Actually, it's too bright on the top, so I'll probably open the inner shadow and reduce this, make this color a bit darker, but well, it looks okay. Let's leave it like that. And well, we're done with the car for now. Let's add our model, which is another of the main elements of the image. And I'll show you how I extracted the woman from the background. You can see that she's against the white background, so it's really easy. You can use even the magic wand tool. So I'll show you the way I did it. I used calculations. So go to the channels, select the blue channel, because this is the channel where the woman is darker. And now just click on it, drag it down to this new layer icon, and let go, and that way you create a duplicate of that channel. And now go to Image, Calculations, and by default this is set to whatever colors you have here, and then set to multiply, and I'll leave it like that. Click OK. And now I will press Ctrl or Command L to open the levels. And you can see here we have the highlights, which is this background, and we have almost no midtones, and all the dark areas, which is the woman itself. We only want her silhouette. So I will click here and drag this to darken her. And now click here to make sure that this part of the background is pure white. And on the midtones, let's drag this to the right so that all the midtones become dark. Probably too much to the left. Okay, now click OK. Let's zoom in at 100%, and we still have areas to fix here. What you can do is get the brush tool and make sure you have the opacity and the flow to 100%. And I'll use a hard brush. And now just paint over the white areas that you see on the woman. If you want to make sure you don't affect the edges, you can change the blend mode of the brush to overlay and paint with black. And even if you paint here on this white area, nothing happens because you have this set on overlay. So that way you can paint, and you will only paint the dark areas, like right here. There will be areas that you still have to change the blend mode to normal and paint them, because areas that are pure white will not be affected by the brush. So paint everything that you can in the overlay blend mode, especially the edges. And here on the boots, we will need to probably take care of that area there where that shadow is on the ground, but that's easy to fix. Let's take care of bigger areas, like you can see the boots here. And once you're done with the edges and nothing else is painted with this brush, you can see that even if I paint on this area, nothing happens. I will change the blend mode back to normal. I have a hard edge brush because I don't want to mess with the edges. And now carefully paint all these areas. Zoom in as much as necessary. Just paint. We will take care of these areas after we're done. Just paint areas that you see here. Usually I would skip this part of the extraction from the background, but a lot of people keep asking how do I extract images, and this one is it's easy to extract. Maybe there's another, maybe with the magic wand tool or with the quick selection tool, you will end up a lot faster than using this method. But I just wanted to show you how to use calculations, how I did it, but you can use your own method if you want to. I have my silhouette. There are still details here on the boots, but we will take care of those. Once you have this, press and hold the Control or Command key and click on the icon here on the channels layer, on the channels palette, sorry, and you will load the selection of the contour. Go back to the layers tab and select RGB first and go to the layers tab, and now with the woman layer selected, click this layer mask icon and you have to invert it, pressing Control or Command I to invert the layer mask. And in order to see the details here that we skipped, what I will do is create a new layer below this one. So I'll press Control or Command and click on this new layer, and I'll fill it with another color, with red color, because I want to see the details that I skipped here. You can see that. You can use the layer mask, and you don't have to include these ones if you don't want to. If you think they're not too visible, you can get rid of them. Well, I will probably leave them. So use the white brush and switch back to black. Remember that our background is also almost white, so there will not be very visible. There's a big part of the boot here that was missing. If you want to deactivate the layer mask, you can press and hold the Shift key and click on it, and you can deactivate it. Okay, and we also need to remove this part here. Okay, and do the same with the other boot. And when you're done, just copy the image to your canvas. I'll skip this part. I will keep fixing this part here, but I'll skip it. So I'll see you when everything is done. Okay, so I've done with all the details on the woman, and this is the final image that I got. So you can see it's too big for my canvas. I made it a bit smaller, but it's still too big, so I'll have to make it even smaller. I'll name this layer woman, and I'll turn it into a smart object. You can also use the refine edge if you want to fix the edges a bit, and I'll make it, let's see how big I want to have this. I want to create the illusion that it's a bit far away, further away from the car, so that is not too close to the car. And maybe make it just a bit bigger and place her here. Let's see the reference. Okay, a bit bigger. Okay, something like that. Let's add it here. That way we cover that window of the car. Let's place it there. And well, what we can do with this, you can use the spot healing brush tool to clean all the spots on the woman's skin, but I'll skip that. It's just minor things that you can fix. Well, actually, there's one spot here that I don't like. Let's create a new layer. I like to work non-destructively, so I create clipping mask layers all the time. And you can use the spot healing brush tool and just fix this error. Make sure you have sample all layer checked. cover these spots here. And here on the face as well. Okay, it was just a minor retouch that I wanted to do. That's here on the neck as well. It looks okay. One thing I want to do now is create make a color change here. So I'll use color balance as a clipping mask because I only want to affect the woman. And I'll give you the values that I have. You can change them if you want to. I wanted to give a colder touch of color, so I will start with the shadows channel. And I have the values that I have are -6, 0 and -1. And for the midtones, -3, -6 and 2. And for the highlights, I have the preserve luminosity checked. For the highlights, it's -1, 2 and 5. And let me show the before and after. It's not a too much change. You can see here, especially on this jacket here, it's just a bit of change. Next, I added a Vibrance Adjustment, also as a clipping mask. Otherwise, it will also affect the background and the car, and that's not what we want. And I set the vibrance to 32 and the saturation to 32 and the vibrance to 14. And that gives it a lot of color, too much. Let's invert the values to about 14 and this one to about 30. Because the vibrance, it's not as strong as the saturation. Okay, and you can see the before and after. Just add a bit of color on the skin and on the hair. And then we need to make her a bit brighter using curves again as clipping mask. So all these adjustments are clipped to the woman layer. And I want to add some color on the brighter tones, so I'll click here. But I want the shadows to be as they are here, and just see that a bit of light here on the skin tones. But I want the tones here on this part here to be as they are because I want contrast. Okay, so you can see the before and after. That's what we want, a bit more brightness. And we're done with the adjustments for the woman. Let's group all these layers, so you can select the top layer and press and hold the shift key and click on the woman layer to select all the layers of the woman. Well, we still need to make the shadow, so let's do that now. I'll create a new layer below the woman layer. So press Ctrl and click the new layer icon. Let's name it Woman Shadow. And it's really easy to do. You can make it really easy simply using the elliptical marquee tool. Make an oval like that, fill it with black, and then go to filter, blur and Gaussian blur, and make something like that. It's not too realistic. I don't really like how this looks. I'll select everything and delete because I don't like it. I'll paint the shadows myself with the brush tool. Hardness set to 0, about this big. Reduce the opacity and the flow to about 20%. Let's zoom in and just make some shadows like that. First the shadow under the boots, and then keyboard shortcuts. I'm not used to them. Let's do the same for the other side. Now I'll decrease the opacity and the flow to about 5 or 7%. The reason why I decreased the opacity so much is because I'm painting on a gray layer, and it's almost, well, actually it's almost white, and that's why the shadow is a lot more visible. Too low. Okay, let's do it again. And that's my shadow there. Let's add some blur, motion blur. Leave the angle to 0. Just increase the size, just the distance, sorry, just a bit, like so. And well, that's my shadow there. And probably paint a really soft shadow around. These are not the best shadows that I ever drew on Photoshop anyways. That's the shadow that I have. I'll probably delete the top part a bit. Okay, now we have the shadows. Let's start adding some details and some color to this. So, well, first let me group the layers as I wanted to do before. So I'll select the bottom layer of the shadow, and then go up, press and hold the Shift key, and then press Control or Command G to group it. And let's name this group Woman. And let's do the same with the car. Select all the layers of the car and press Control G, and let's name this Car. And that way everything is a lot better organized. And between the background and the car, I'll create a new layer, and then I'll press Control Command O to open this window, and I'll select the, let's see, this abstract vector, and let's change this to pixels and pixels. And the width for this, I want it to about 1000 pixels. We'll make it smaller if we need to. And press Control A to load the entire canvas, Control C to copy the image. Go back, and in this layer, which I'll name Vector, I will paste that image and zoom out a bit. Press Control T to load the free transform and flip it. And I'll want to make it a bit smaller, like so. Place it there. And I'll change the blend mode of this to darken. You can also change it to multiply if you want to, but then you'll have to press Control or Command L to open the levels and use this slider, because you can see the background is not completely white. So you'll need to move this slider in order to get rid of all of the background, and that way the colors here are too saturated. I don't know if I like them. Well, let's leave it like that. On the original I used the darken blend mode, but you can use this one. And if you want to change the colors, you can press Control Command U to load the hue saturation and just play with the change the hue slider. But let's leave it like that. And now let's add more elements. I also added some water splash. I don't have it here right now, but that was from Deposit Photos, an image of a water which I placed there on the background. Let me show you the original, this one there. Well, actually I'll get it from here, because I don't have it. I don't have it right now. And let's see where it is. Water splash. I'll drag it on my canvas right here, and I'll change the blend mode to normal so you can see how it looked. So this was the original stock image. I just placed it there, maybe rotate it a bit, like so. I don't know if it looks good here, but anyways. And you can change the blend mode to multiply or to darken. I chose darken on the original image. Probably make it just a bit smaller. Maybe I can flip it. Let's see how it looks if I can flip it. So it's your choice if you want to add this splash of water or not. Let's leave it there. And something like that. And now more elements on the background. I'll create a new layer and let's name this layer dot. And for that you will need a custom brush. Make sure the opacity and the flow are to 100%. I'll close this document and I'll switch the color to white. I'll open the brushes window. You can do that if you press F5 or from the window choose brush. I have it on the secondary dock. And I'll activate scattering because I want to scatter the brush. I'll increase the hardness to 100%, decrease count to 1, activate shape dynamics as well, control set to off, and maybe increase the spacing. And on the shape dynamics, make sure everything is set to 0, except the size. The minimum diameter, let's leave it to about 37%. From here you can control the spacing between the dots. Let's see, I have to make the brush a bit bigger. And you can see how you can draw a few dots, but I want to also activate transfer because I want to have some random opacities for each of them, like so. But I want a bigger brush. Just make a few dots. And now I'll change the blend mode to, let's see, maybe soft light. Yeah, I like how the soft light blend mode looks. And on the original image are these dots here. You can see that they're a bit smaller, so let me make that a bit smaller. The brush. Change the blend mode to soft light and just make a few dots like that. They're too close together, so you can probably increase the spacing. Okay, just a few dots there on the background. And the next thing that I added are some 3D shapes that I made with Photoshop itself. I'll give them to you. You can use them as they are. You can change the color if you want different colors. And I'll place them above everything. And you can create a group and put them inside a group if you want to. So just random shapes, random 3D shapes. And let me open another one, the blue cube, and we'll just put them wherever you like. And the next thing that we need to do is add some styles to them because they are too flat. And the styles, I will start with the orange one. I think it's this one because you can see it better, and I'll zoom in a bit and open the layer styles. And what I did to this is I added gradient overlay and set the blend mode, let's see, to overlay, or maybe color dodge. I don't like how that looks, it's too strong. Let's leave it on overlay, change the angle a bit. And I'll change the style to reflected. And maybe change the angle, reduce the scale. I'll reverse it maybe, yeah, because I want this line here, and increase the scale just a bit. And now I'll also add bevel and emboss and activate the contour. And let's increase the range a bit, but it's not affecting it too much. Let's try other contours. Actually, you can use another style, this one, and let's change the blend mode to overlay. You see, just to create a few lines there, and you can also change the contour, of course, and you can also add, for example, inner shadow, decrease the size to 0, and change this to overlay, and change the color maybe, just to make it look a bit brighter, a bit shinier. So let me show the if without the effects and with the effects. Just adds a bit of gloss to it. And then you can simply copy the style. Sorry, you can press and hold the Alt key and just click on the effects icon and drag it to another layer, and then you can just modify it. Double click on it, and you can keep the same styles but modify them. And you can move the effects around, change the angles. Let's change the angle of this one. So maybe decrease the opacity. You can even change the color of the gradient itself. Let's leave it on white. Okay, and on the satin, maybe leave it like that. And on the inner shadow, maybe increase a bit the size to make it a bit smoother. Let's try another contour. Let's leave this one. Okay, and maybe the inner shadow, I will change the angle. Something like that. Click OK. Let's duplicate the effect on the other ones. Not the whole layer, just the effect. Okay, and let's add to the other ones as well. So you can see the effect, maybe it's too strong. Let's go with this one first. Okay, and this one, maybe increase the scale of the gradient. And also on the green one, maybe change the angle and increase the scale. So just add a bit of shine to these shapes, because otherwise they look too flat. You can also add inner glow, for example, and increase the size and change the blend mode maybe to soft light or overlay, and use different colors if you want to give them different effects. And try really crazy blend modes like exclusion. You can see the effect. It's a really cool effect combining colors. Let's try with the blue one as well. And on the gradient overlay, on the inner shadow, let's increase this, well, on the inner glow actually, let's add some inner glow, and let's try a difference, the difference blend mode, and try different colors and see what we get. I liked the exclusion one. I liked the effect. You can see how it looks. Let's leave it as it was and click OK. So that's what I did with this with these shapes. The next thing that I added is a policeman hat. I will use the quick selection tool to select it. Like that. That's why I don't like this tool. I really hate it. I have to take care of all the edges, and it never works as I want to. Okay, anyways, I will probably use the refine edge. Well, let's leave it like that. We'll have to include this on the selection. Anyways, you can take your time and use the pen tool if you want to and get a better selection. And press, well, actually I have to use the refine edge, otherwise it would look horrible. And increase the feather just a bit and the smoothness, and create a layer mask and click OK. Apply the layer mask, copy it, and go back to my image. I'll group all these shapes. So I'll select all of them and press Ctrl G to group them, and I'll call them 3D shapes. And I'll create a new layer and paste my policeman hat here. And I'll have to make it a lot smaller. And let's actually compare with the woman's head. About this big. And what I'll do is flip it horizontally, and on the original I made it look as it was falling. There you can put it on the ground if you want to. And you can also use the hue saturation or color balance because it's too yellow, and you can add a bit of cyan and a bit of blue on the midtones and also on the shadows just a bit, like so. Click OK. And in order to create the illusion that it's moving, I added some motion blur to it, just a few pixels. Set the angles to 90 degrees and change the distance to about 4 pixels or 5. Now it looks like it's falling. And you can also create a shadow there if you want to, or you can even skip this part. I don't think it looks too realistic, but anyway. And then more details. I added a policeman badge. Let's see if I can find it, if I have it here. It's this one. It's a PNG file, so I'll select everything, copy, and close it. Let's name this police hat, and I'll paste the badge here. I'll duplicate it because I need 2. I'll hide this one. I'll name this one 1 and this one 2. And I'll make it smaller. And I'll distort it with the distort tool. And also use the perspective. And make something like that. And I'll make this one smaller than the other one. And maybe rotate it just a bit and do the same with the distort, like that. But they are too dark, so I'll use levels. Press Ctrl L. This time I will not use adjustment layers. I will use the adjustment directly on the object. Let's do the same with the second one. And if you press Alt and Control and press the L, you will open the levels with the last adjustment that you did, so that way I have a similar adjustment to both of them. And we're done with all the elements. Everything is on the scene now. All we need to do now is make some adjustments and make this look a bit better. The first thing that I did is use the dodge and burn tool, and based on this artwork I made tutorials about the dodging and burning. A lot of people have been asking me, why do I use dodge and burn? And this was the image where I demonstrated why do I use dodge and burn. And my technique consists of making a new layer, name it dodge burn maybe, and I'll go to edit, fill, and I'll choose 50% gray, and I'll click OK. And now I will change the blend mode of the layer to overlay. You can also use soft light if you want to. And I'll get the dodge tool. Well, actually I'll start with the burn tool, and I'll zoom in, and I'll start with the car and set the exposure to about 20. Let's see if it's too much. No, it's not. And I'll start burning the areas where I see shadows, right here on the windows. Well, when I made the original artwork, I spent like half an hour dodging and burning all the details. I went to all the details on the car and the woman's dress. Right now I just want to show you what you can do with it, but I will not spend as much time as on the original. I just wanted to enhance the shapes of the car. I burned too much there. I just want to show you some of the areas where I dodged and burned. Right now I'm using the burn tool. Muy bien, vamos con el... Now let's go with the woman's body. When using the burn tool on the skin, you have to use lower exposures. I'll set this to 10. And be careful here with these folds. Just burn. I'll leave this to 20 again because I want a stronger effect. So just burn the parts where you see shadows. Do not burn the highlights. So notice I'm avoiding this area, also this line here and these ones. Just burn the shadows. Okay, now let's assume we're done with the burn tool. Let's burn a bit these badges here, these stars. And now switch to the dodge tool and set the exposure again to about 20%. And make the brush a bit smaller. Make sure you use a soft brush and do the same, but this time go on the highlights. So just enhance the highlights. I'll increase the exposure just a bit because I want more effect on a single pass. Don't forget about the car rims. You can really make them shine with this tool. Now just enhance the highlights, the lines of the car. You can make the car look very shiny with this tool. I'll show you that on the original once I'm done with this. Especially these chromed parts, the reflections. If you just spend a bit of time here. And you can even use this tool on these shapes, because this layer filled with 50% is on top of everything, so it will affect all the layers, but of course non-destructively. Now let's go with the woman, but we'll have to decrease the exposure and use a bit of a bigger brush. Now let's burn a bit the dress here, her legs as well. If you want to switch to the burn tool, you can press and hold the Alt key and you will burn, because I want to burn the legs a bit, the sides, and also this part here. So right now I'm burning, even though I have the dodge tool selected, because I have I'm holding the Alt key. I want to burn this part of the skin. And now I'm dodging because I let go of the Alt key. I'm just enhancing the highlights, and also here. As I said, I spent like half an hour here and working on the glasses as well, the lips. And you can also enhance the hair with this tool. Let me increase the exposure a bit. And you can make the hair look brighter using the dodge tool. And another technique that I used for that is I created a new layer and switched the blend mode to overlay, and then I got the brush tool and the white color. Just paint, oops, I have to reset my brush to a normal one, and I'll decrease the opacity to about 20% and then just paint on this layer. And you'll see how you can enhance the hair, make it look brighter. And if you switch the color, you can make it darker on some areas. Let me show the before and after. Let me brighten it up a bit more. Well, let me show the before and after without the dodge and burn, with the dodge and burn. And if you want a stronger effect, you can duplicate this layer. That way you have a much more effect before and after. So you can see it's quite an amazing effect. I'll show the original. Let's see if I can find the dodge and burn group. This one here. I'll zoom in just a bit. You can see I spent, as I said, I spent a lot more time here. You can see the effect here on the hair, on the lips, on the glasses, and here on the car as well. That's what you can get with the dodge and burn tool, so that's why I use it. And if you want, you can add some light effects, create a new layer, change the blend mode to, well, actually you can leave it on normal, switch the color to white. Let's leave the opacity and the flow to about 60% and just make glows of light on some places like that. Just to make it look a bit shinier. And for the final effect, you can use, for the final adjustment, you can use levels and just play with the overall luminosity of the whole image. You can add more contrast if you want to. And I would also add some color balance and just give the image a uniform look. For the shadows, let's add a bit of cyan, maybe a bit of green. And well, this is the final result. As I said, on the original I spent a bit more time on the dodging and burning and on the details, but I showed you the technique. And well, I hope you liked this tutorial. If you have any questions, post a comment on YouTube or on my website and I'll try to help you. And well, until next time, this is Andrei from PSD Box. Thank you for watching.